Well, I'm just asking about what it was like living in Washington in the late 1940s.
Well, uh, Harry Truman was
Yeah.
president. People went around singing the song, really from the 1920s, I'm Just Wild About Harry. Did you ever hear that
Yeah,
song?
I've never heard it, no.
Oh, it's a very popular song. And before World War One, but after Harry Truman became president, they sang it as I'm just mild about Harry. Everybody laughed hilariously at that.
And you were living in Washington at the time, which would have been a very interesting time to be living in Washington.
Well, your father got an opportunity to meet Harry Truman and shake his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Truman was a very strong supporter of national health insurance. As a matter of fact, your father went to the White House twice to see him. And he said he was a very nice guy. How can a president not be a nice guy when he's greeting his supporters? But your father was having a good time because he was doing a good job, and the guy who preceded him was some hotshot, Washington hotshot, who was totally incompetent. And they kept on feeding him stuff and materials and telling him what to say and hovering over him and giving him all sorts of support, but he was totally incompetent. So they finally fired him and let your father take the job temporarily, but he was so good at it that they kept him, which was one of the few things they did right. Your father was a very able fellow, and it was one of the few things in his life that went right.
Mm-hmm. But the bill didn't pass.
No, and I believed, and I'm pretty sure your father believed, that if we couldn't pass the bill when Harry Truman, who was a strong supporter of national health insurance and did whatever he could to help, then the bill was never going to pass. And how right I was.
Now, Dad mostly worked with Hubert Humphrey, no?
What, with who?
Hubert Humphrey.
Uh, yes, Hubert Humphrey was one of his strong supporters. He didn't have very much interconnection with Hubert Humphrey, though, and that was because I may be wrong about this. I wasn't on the scene, but I have the strong impression, and I think other people did too, that he was for national health insurance and he wanted to do something for it, but more importantly, he wanted to do something for Hubert Humphrey for himself. And he really wasn't somebody that you could depend on to get out there and fight for this. He was, I think, thinking of himself.
I had the feeling that you were someone who started out as a fan of Hubert Humphrey and soured on him.
Yes, I did. Now I forget why I did. I just have a fleeting recollection that there was something that all the liberals expected Hubert Humphrey to do, and that at the last minute he backed out of because it wouldn't have helped his desire to be president of the United States. But I don't have any better recollection than that.
How about the war in Vietnam?
What?
How about the war in Vietnam?
Oh, yes. I was just about to come up with that, saying I didn't quite have my hands around it. Yeah.
There's also some video of him with his arms around Lester Maddox.
Yes, I remember that. That appeared in the Atlanta Journal. I wonder what Lester Maddox is doing today.
He's dead.
He's dead. There's a plus right there. I remember when they integrated the restaurants.
Uh-huh.
Lester Maddox appeared in front of his restaurant with an axe in his arms, saying, they'll never have niggers in my restaurant.